So today I'm going to be telling Zaire's story. It's been a long time coming. It's always been on my heart to do this, and I just feel like now is the time. It is quite lengthy, so I am going to have to break it up into parts. But with that being said, although this is Zaire's story, this is all of our story as well. So I'm going to have to back up just a little bit before we even got pregnant with Zaire. And just because there are some key parts in the story before Zaire was born. So, okay, so a few months before Zaire was born, my husband and I were pregnant twice, and we had 2 miscarriages. So the first time I was pregnant, we were so excited. We weren't trying, but we weren't not trying. So you know, we're pregnant. Just like I said, we were excited. I really wanted a girl, and that's just all I could think about. Like, I had my 2 girls. They were just almost grown at the time, and I had 2 young boys. So I'm like, okay, I want another girl. And I just knew I was gonna have a girl. So like I said, we were just so excited. And I think like 2 weeks after we found out that I was pregnant, I think I got home from church, and I was standing in the hallway, and I was just talking to my husband. All of a sudden I feel something not normal, almost like, you know, when you're on your monthly and you feel something dribbling down there. And I'm just like, let me just check. So I check, and sure enough, it's blood. And so at the time, I'm not trying to panic. I've never experienced this in any of my pregnancies, and I've heard, like, some people bleed sometimes. So I wasn't panicking. I was just like, you know what? I told my husband, you know, you stay here and watch the kids, because I just knew, like, everything was going to be okay. I just wanted to go and check and make sure, you know, everything was good. And like I said, I knew, like, the last thing that was on my mind was a miscarriage. I was not scared that it was a miscarriage. I really wasn't. I had never, like I said, I've never experienced it. Nobody near me that I know of had shared an experience like this with me. So I go to the ER, and I'm laying on the table. They're running all these tests, and then they finally do an ultrasound. And there's no heartbeat. So they're like, okay, you are actively having a miscarriage, and follow up with your doctor. And at that moment, my world just came crushing down. I was so devastated. I was heartbroken. I'm just like, I'm in total shock, because like I said, nothing like this has ever happened to me. And so it was like, one moment I'm up, and the next minute I'm just down. Like, my whole world just, like I said, came crashing down. And I go home, and I tell my husband, I'm just heartbroken. He was very upset as well. He's better at hiding his emotions, you know, but from our conversations, I knew he was really hurt. But I did begin to feel just the heaviness, spirit of heaviness and depression start to come over me. I remember just laying in bed one day, and I just felt it, and everything in me, when I was laying in that bed, everything in me was telling me, you don't got to get up, don't do anything, just lay here. My curtains were closed. It was dark in my room, and that's never, like, I love light in my house. Like, that's just not me. And I didn't want to open the curtains. I just want to lay in the bed, and everything in me was just telling me, just stay there. Just stay there. You have every right, you have every excuse to just lay here and do nothing, you know. And at that moment, I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to get up and I'm going to fight this, but I'm not going to fight it alone. I went to the church and I went to the altar and I prayed. You know, I cried out to God, and after I got done praying and crying out to God, you know, to help me and, you know, all that, I got up, and at that altar, I just started worshiping and praising my God. Even though I was going through what I was going through, man, something happened when I started praising God. When I tell you, I felt that heaviness, that depression. I felt it literally leave me, y'all. I can't make this up. It was crazy. And although, you know, I was still hurt by what had happened, God gave me a peace, and he gave me a joy, even though I was going through what I was going through, because I gave him praise and I began to worship, and he took my burdens, and I felt so much better. So about, I want to say maybe 3 weeks later, I'm having some symptoms, and I kid you not, it was just a few weeks. And I'm having symptoms. You know, I at this point I got 4 kids, so I know instantly when my body has, you know, is changing. So I take a pregnancy test. Again, I'm like, this can't be, like, and I was pregnant, and I was just like, okay, this is, you know, this was the blessing after the storm. Like, I was happy. I was so happy. Like, you know, I felt like this was God, like, just showing me, like, he sees me, you know, he hears me, and he's blessing us with another. And so I was excited all over again. And I think this time was, it was about a week later. I'm sitting on the toilet, and I feel something not normal, you know. So I look in the toilet, and what do you call it? The embryo has passed. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm heartbroken again. And I'm just like, seriously? And I'm trying not to, you know, freak out. And I go to my doctor and let them know. They do an ultrasound, and they couldn't see it, but my levels were still, I can't think of the name, but your levels, like when you're pregnant, those levels were still high, like after a week. So it was like weird. So they were thinking maybe it was ectopic, and they were gonna have to do all these things, possibly if those levels didn't go down. But I think a few days after that, I was in the shower and something else had passed, and then my levels had went down. So I was thinking, were they twins? Or, you know, because it was literally the same thing, about a few days apart. And when I went back to my doctor, my levels were back to normal after that second had passed. And I'm devastated all over again. I'm like, what in the world? Like, what is going on? I've never experienced this in my life, and here I am having them back to back. I'm like, what is wrong with me? Like, and did I do anything wrong? Like, I'm checking myself, you know, as a Christian. Like, you know, God doesn't punish those, you know, punish you for doing wrong, but at the same time, I'm like, dang, am I doing something wrong? Like, you know, like, God, why is this happening? You know, that was just me. I was just checking my heart and like making sure I would like what's wrong? What am I doing wrong that this has happened literally weeks apart, like back to back? It was such a crazy time, and I ain't even gonna lie, like I had seat back. I just felt that heaviness coming back, because I'm like, man, and this is no excuse, but I'm like, I feel like we're doing what we're being faithful, and we're checking all the boxes, and that's not what it's about. I know that's not what it's about, but it's like when you experience something like this, you're just like, God, you're crying out to him like, God, I'm doing this, that, and the third. Like, why is this happening to us, you know? And that's not the correct response looking back, I would say, but that was just, you know, my raw emotions and just what I was going through. And I went to my doctor, and like I said, depression had come back. I let that come back, and just heaviness, and I was really going through it. And I was at my doctor's appointment, and she felt that, you know, I needed to take something for depression. And I was just like, and I'm not big on medication for myself. I don't have a problem with anybody, you know, on depression medication whatsoever, but I've never been the type to, you know, just medicate myself. But at that point, I was like, I'm tired of fighting, you know, on my own. I just, okay, give me whatever you got. And she did, and I can't remember what she prescribed me, but she was like, if you begin to have like crazy dreams or, you know, stuff like that, let me know. And I was just like, crazy dreams, okay, I'll let you know. And so I was on it for, you know, a couple weeks maybe, and it started, I guess, doing what it was supposed to do. My emotions, not that I liked it, like I had no emotions. Like, I felt like almost like a zombie. Like, it wasn't myself. But I didn't feel depressed. I didn't feel sadness. I didn't feel depressed. So I guess it was working. So one night, like I said, I had been taking it maybe a couple weeks, and I had a dream. And in my dream, me and my husband were side by side, and we were looking down in a petri dish. And there was an embryo in the petri dish, and we're just looking at it, you know, pointing. And inside the petri dish was an embryo in the center, and around the embryo there was this snake just circling around the embryo. And every once in a while the snake will try to bite the embryo. It will just circle around and then try to bite. But for some reason, something was keeping the snake from biting the embryo. And the next day I woke up, I was like, okay, that must be one of them crazy dreams the doctor was talking about. That's what I was thinking at the time. So I go to my next appointment, and I tell my doctor, I'm like, okay, I'm having the crazy dreams. Like, we gotta do something different. And so she's okay. She's like, okay, I want to try you on this other medication, but before we start you on this, I need to see, I need to give you a pregnancy test to make sure you're not pregnant, because on this medication, I guess you're not supposed to be pregnant or whatever. So I'm like, okay, I don't think nothing of it. And I take the pregnancy test, and I get on my way home. I don't even make it to the house, and I get a phone call. I'm still in the car driving to the house, and the doctor is like, yeah, I just want to say congratulations, you're pregnant. And I'm just like, my stomach, like, just get this kind of sick feeling. I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know. And I go and I tell my husband, I'm just like, I can't go through this again. And we're both just like, what is going on? This is crazy. Like, no. Like, we literally just had, within a month, we just had 2 miscarriages, and then we're pregnant for the 3rd time. We didn't get excited. We were just like, we're not gonna get our hopes up, because at this point we're expecting, a miscarriage. Because, like, what else? Like, it's something crazy going on. Like, I just couldn't believe it. I didn't know what I was going through. Like, and of course I'm like, you know what, forget this medication. Like, I can't deal. I can't go through this again. And of course I go to my favorite place. I go to the church, and I get to the altar, and I bow at that altar, and y'all, I bawl like I've never bawled before. I'm crying. I mean, snot nose. I am crying out like I've never cried out to God before. And I mean, I'm crying out. I'm like, God, I can't go through this again. Like, I cannot go through this again. Like, what is it? Like, I'm like, Lord, please, like, I can't do this again. And of course, when I'm done crying out, I get up and I start worshiping and I'm praising through it, because that always made me feel better. And so I did it, and it was wonderful worship, wonderful praise. And immediately after, I was just standing there, and God brought back to my memory the dream, and he gave me revelation of the dream. And he said, the enemy is going to try and take this one out. He's gonna do everything he can to take this one out, but he's not gonna be able to, because of my protection. And I was like, wow. I was like, oh my gosh, like, it blew my mind, because here I am in the natural thinking like, oh, this is a crazy dream. This is the dream that doctor was talking about. And God, the whole time, it was God speaking to me through a dream. Like, he knew I was pregnant. He knew he knew I was gonna be scared. He knew all these things, and he gave me that dream. And at the time when I needed it, when I cried out to him, he gave me the revelation, or the interpretation of the dream. And that just blew my mind. It gave, till this day, that blows my mind. I have a lot of dreams. God speaks to, if you know me, God speaks to me through my dreams, and a lot of my dreams come to pass. But that one was just, I don't know, that was just so amazing to me that God did that, you know. And he just reassured me, like, the enemy's he's gonna try, but he's not taking this one out. And so I immediately told my husband about the dream to help ease his mind, because I know he's going through the same emotions. And he was just like, praise God, like, you know what, we're gonna have faith, we're gonna believe, you know, we're just gonna believe God, you know. He's faithful. If he said it, then he's gonna stick by his word. So I go through my whole pregnancy, no issues. And I'm like, okay, thank God. Like, I come to my the time I was going to see what Zaire was, and the funny thing about it was, I just knew Zaire was gonna be a girl. Like I told y'all, I wanted a girl so bad. And before, like a couple years before I got pregnant with Zaire, I had a dream. And I told you, a lot of my dreams come to pass. So I had a dream 2 years before I got pregnant with Zaire that I had a baby. I had a C-section. Like, it was very detailed. Like, and when the baby came out, it was this beautiful, bright skinned baby. I mean, this baby was so white. And at the time, in my dream, I thought it was a girl. Never, you know, said it was a girl, but she was so pretty. Like, she had these beautiful eyes, this beautiful curly hair, and I just knew it was a girl. The baby was so pretty, I just assumed it was a girl. I don't know why, but and then so we find out, we get the results, and it's a boy. And I'm like, I do the blood test, and I'm like, I'm Googling, I'm like, there ain't no way it's a boy. Like, I want a girl so bad. I did not want another boy. I was like, my dream, you know. And then God told me, he was like, I never said it was never stated if it was a boy or a girl in your dream. I'm like, okay. But y'all, I was Googling, like, can this test be wrong and all this. I was just, I was so stuck on having a girl, but it was a boy. So, like I said, my whole pregnancy was good up until the 4th of July. So I woke up that morning very sick. I was nauseous. I was throwing up. It almost felt like the first trimester again, but like I couldn't do anything. Like, I felt drained. I felt like I just need to lay in the bed all day. But it was 4th of July, and we normally, you know, go to this park and together as a family, and we watch the fireworks. And I wanted to go because it was gonna be like our last, you know, big thing we did before Zaire came, because he was actually due to come the next week. I was scheduled for a C-section. And so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna just go. And I go, and I'm feeling terrible. I mean, terrible. I'm having contractions, and it's just your normal, you know, I feel at the time like Braxton Hicks. I'm like, okay, not thinking nothing, but I feel horrible, y'all. Like, I felt so bad, but I made it through. And towards the end of the night, when we were all done, I'm like, I tell my husband, I'm gonna go to the ER because the contractions were just getting worse and worse. And I'm like, something ain't right. So I go to, me and my husband, we go to the ER. And before they start, I told my husband, I said, they're gonna say I'm dehydrated. And because that's their thing, they like to say. And I'm like, I'm not dehydrated. Like with this one, I've been trying to do everything right, because I was like, we had the miscarriages, so I was trying to be healthy and stay hydrated. I was trying to do all that. But I was like, I already know they're gonna they're gonna chop it up to being dehydrated. And they hooked me up to the machines to watch my contractions. They gave me fluids, and I was still having the contractions. Of course they wasn't as bad as they were before I got to the hospital, but they were still pretty consistent. So after they gave me the fluids and stuff, they say, you were just dehydrated. And but with you being high risk, they didn't want to fool with me, because I was a high risk pregnancy and I needed to go to the closest big city, which I was gonna have Zaire in Oklahoma City. And they were like, their hospital don't have the extra blood, and if I was to bleed out and all this stuff, so they didn't want me to come back. They said, if it continues, you need to drive to Oklahoma City. So I asked her, I'm like, well, tell me at which point I need to go, because I don't want to drive an hour and 15 minutes just to get sent back home. And she said, well, I would recommend, if your contractions become 5 minutes apart, go to the hospital. So I was timing them all night, and they just never got there. So my husband's like, should I go to work? And I was like, yeah, if I need you, I'll call you. He went to work, and I'm sitting there trying to get some rest. I was up all night trying to time these contractions. And so I'm in and out of every time one come, I set my timer. And then like maybe an hour after my husband was at work, it start every 5 minutes. And I message him or call him and let him know, like, come on, we gotta go. I'm packing. He comes home, get it, we get in the car. And it's getting bad now. Like them contractions, it's getting so bad. It's getting so bad. So we drive. Mind you, we have to drive an hour and 15 minutes to the hospital we're supposed to have Zaire at. And it's the worst. Driving in labor, it was the worst. And so we end up having to stop like midway, because I just had to get out, and just sitting down and them contractions. So he stopped and got gas, and I was able to kind of get out and move around, and then we head on to the hospital. We get there, they check me in, and they get me back to a room, and she comes to check my cervix to see if it's open. I've been told I have a really high cervix, so it's very hard for them to check my dilation. It's always very painful. And so she was doing that. I was like, it was so painful, and she couldn't reach it. She just kept saying, it's really high, I can't reach it. And she's turning me every which way but loose, trying to reach my cervix. And I'm contracting, and she's pushing and trying to turn my stomach and all this to see. And all of a sudden, alarms going off, and she's calling code. I can't even remember the code, and everybody just rushed in the room, and I'm just like, what's going on? They rushed in the room, and they're like, you're finna have an emergency C-section, you can't get an epidural, my husband can't go in there. I about lost it. Like, I'm looking at him like, are you serious? And he's just, the look on his face made it even worse, because he's my man, and he's tough in all these situations. And the look that he gave, he was just like, Like, he didn't know what to do. He was lost. I'm lost. I'm like my biggest thing is my husband can't go in there with me, and the look on his face just broke my heart. Like, and so they wheel me out, and then I'm terrified because I just saw a video of somebody who they went in surgery and they were put to sleep, but they didn't get the epidural, and their eyes were closed, but they weren't, I guess they felt everything. And so so now fear is just running through me. I'm like, I do not want to be awake during this. Like, I need everything to go right. So I know my husband's praying, I'm praying, and so we get, I'm so scared, y'all. Like, the fear, I was so scared, and I'm just crying, and I get in there and go to sleep. And mind you, I did not have an epidural with a C-section. So I'm in a recovery room. All I hear is them waking me up. I wake up in the most excruciating pain I've ever felt in my life. And I have a high tolerance for pain. And oh my goodness, the pain that I was in. And they didn't have my meds ready to give me, or nothing. I'm like, why would you wake me up and you don't have my meds at least waiting, ready to give to me? So the nurse is like calling for my med. Like, really, you would think they would have that stuff. I did not have an epidural. Like, that should have been, established before you even woke me up, but it was the worst. It was so traumatic, y'all. I can't even put into words how awful it was. But I get to my room. I finally get my medicine. I get to my room. Medicine's kicked in, and find out Zaire's in the NICU. I haven't even seen him. I'm tore. I'm messed up. I haven't even seen my own child. He's in the NICU. Apparently, the cord was wrapped around his neck twice, and he had a bowel movement, and he aspirated. So that explains all my sickness from the day before, all my discomfort. And the whole time, like, my baby was like fighting for his life, and the doctors want to send me home. And I think about that all the time. It's like, if you feel, some type of way, just stick to what you feeling. But he's in the NICU for like 5 days. He was on oxygen and all that stuff, but I'm getting ready to be released, and I'm hoping my doctor had tried to keep me in for as long as he was in, because like, we live an hour away. We can't be driving back and forth or anything like that. So my doctor tried to hold me as long as he could, and on that 5th day he was like, I can't hold you anymore. Insurance isn't gonna pay. I don't have any reason to. So we were just praying and believing that, like, I'm getting discharged, and we still haven't heard when Zaire is gonna come home. We don't know. So I'm getting ready to get discharged, and all of a sudden they say Zaire can go home, and I'm just like, thank you, Jesus. We can go home together. Like, I don't have to worry about anything. Like, it was perfect timing. God is so good. And yeah, so that is my part 1. Y'all come back for part 2, and thank y'all for watching.